That's fine though. I mean,
We
you
can
just
see
have to
you
cue me in to talk.
now.
All right, good morning and good evening, everyone. My name is Korean. We're here with Anton and Adam. We are the hosts of the Middle Age Gaming Podcast, your number one place to listen to games that are being played over spans of time. There's so much going on this week, so much gaming news. We're in September, moving into October. That sort of summer lull is over. It may not be over for you guys because, right, we're busy. You know, you've got work, you've got things you're planning for the end of the year. Maybe you're going back to some other place, go back home. Anyway, today's topic is really, really cool, really relevant, especially if you're somebody thinking about game development. You've been following game news, the game development, GTA 6, Cyberpunk 2077. There's Ublis news as well, I guess, in a sense, since they went through it. But today's topic is gaming development hell. We also have a new sponsor today that Antoine will be reading before we get into our segment. So keep an eye out for that. Antoine does wonderful reading with some amazing voices you will hear. No pressure, Antoine. Uh,
Oh my.
and before we get started, as usual, we're going to fill you in on the games we have been playing, giving you ideas for games you might want to think about, you might want to play next after you finish your game, or maybe you're like, oh yeah, I want to play this right now. So as usual, we're starting off with Adam. Adam, what have you been playing?
Same thing. I've been playing. We did a little bit of No Man's Sky. I've been doing Dust Diver, Dot Hack GU, in which I am getting kind of close to the end, I suppose. I killed what we thought was the big boss, but no, there's something bigger out there. So we've got that to handle. And near Reincarnation on mobile. So that's pretty much the only game that I'm currently doing on mobile.
So how's Dust Diver going?
Dust Diver's going really well. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not quite sure how far I am, but I don't think I'm actually all that far into it. It's definitely a step up over the original one. One thing I really like is that in the original game, the way you were meant to play is you were given a rank at the end of each level, and so you had to beat a level within a certain time limit in order to get the higher ranks. And that was one of the challenges. This one doesn't do that. So I really like the fact that they took away the ranking system of the missions. So you don't go back and replay the missions like you did in the first one. This one is just a linear experience. Um, but yeah, they've added a lot of quality of life things. In the original one, you had it was a brawler and you had your basic kind of brawling abilities. But in this one, you can upgrade and you can swap out abilities that you want to use or don't want to use. You have access to 4 different characters this time, so you can have different styles and swap with them on the fly. So whereas the first one kind of felt more like an indie game, this one feels more like a full blown. Maybe not necessarily AAA, but definitely a much bigger game than the first one did.
Nice. And on Dot Hack GU, I remember you told me on the weekend you're on the bonus extra part of the game, something along that
Not
line.
yet. There were originally 3 games. It was a trilogy, but then they've added a 4th game, and so once I finish the 3rd game, then I should get into. Then I can do the 4th part. So they've added just some extra story to the end, but I haven't quite got there yet. So I think I'm getting close though, because I think I know what the big threat is, and we took out what we thought was the big threat, and then what we thought was behind the big threat, and now it's like, oh no, those are gone. This is an entirely new thing, unrelated to the first 2. So yeah, I think we're getting close to the end.
So out of everything you're playing in a week, I'm going to ask Anton this question as well: is like, what are you enjoying the most, if you had to pick one,
Probably Dusk Divers.
and why?
I just think it's just a lot of fun, and then I think also too, Dot Hack GU suffers from the fact that it's originally a PS2 game, so the mechanics are definitely, you can tell, older. Most of the fighting is just mash X, X X X X X X X X X, and that's it. It's just basically a hack and slash. You can tell that as the game progressed, they tried to add things on. Like for instance, in the second game, they gave you the ability to swap weapons mid battle, so you weren't stuck in using one kind of weapon. So that changed it up a little bit. And in this one, they've added a new weapon type, so you can kind of mess with that, which I haven't really done too much of. So you can tell that they were definitely trying to make the game more interesting, but it was still, and I won't say it was limitation of the PS2. I would just say that that's the state of what games were back then. And since then, people have adapted new strategies and new gameplay elements that now we're more used to. So it's one of those things where once you hit a certain wall or once you hit a certain plateau, you can't go back. And I think this was an earlier plateau that they had hit, and so they just hadn't developed some of these techniques that we have now. So,
Nice. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. So last question, Adam, before we move on to Antoine. Let, let's let's make things clear for people. If you had to give, out of all the games you're playing right now, if you had to give them a score out of 10, uh, give them a score out of 10.
Oh, out of 10, I always hate these scores. If I was gonna do it with dot hack GU, if I was if I was playing it on the original PS2, I probably would have given it like maybe an 8 out of 10, but I would say in modern times it'll probably be a 7 out of 10 just
Okay.
because it is very dated. So if you're the kind of person who is concerned with gameplay, it's going to feel very dated. Dust Diver, I'd probably give a 9 out of 10, I guess. That one I'm having a lot of fun with. It's really enjoyable. It's not super complicated, but it's complicated just enough. But it's a brawler, so it's probably not for everybody. If you're not into brawlers, then that might not be your thing. And then for near reincarnation, I would say maybe I don't play a lot of mobiles, so I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10. It's fun for me. Um, I like going through the story. It's not terribly difficult, but it is a gotcha game. But you don't need to use any of the gotcha elements. I haven't used any of them. I think only if you do the PvP element, then you might need it, but you really don't because you can probably get by as long as you have a good team comp. And they do allow you to unlock characters quite often. It's just maybe you unlock 3-star characters versus 4-star characters. But if you get a level 73-star character, it's probably not going to be a huge difference. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Antoine, what about you? What have you been playing to excite us?
Fuga, as usual.
Oh, nice.
That I started last week. Last week I think I played half an hour. I was in the tutorial. Now I am about more or less about the third of a game, I would say, and it's a very very excellent game that I recommend. Um,
What's
now
changed since last week?
the strategy part has changed. Like before I was in the tutorial, so it was really um, acts focused on the story and the emotion to grab you, straight from the tutorials for you to, get hooked into the game and keep playing it. And it really did a good job at that. And now you are really into the strategy at every part of this game. So, for instance, it's based, say, on a rock paper scissors kind of type when you hit opponents, but it's not that easy. It's a bit more complex. Like you have to shed some opponent's armor before you can start shooting them. There's plenty different kind of enemies, which are all very painful. One of the thing, like it has a RPG component where your character and your tank upgrades all the time, but you can upgrade your tank armor to, I don't know, 10,000 points, but you can't raise his defense stat. So if the enemy touch you 1,000 points of damage and you upgrade your tank, it will still hit you 1,000 points of damage. It never change. You just upgrade your life points.
Oh,
So so in combat, there's a strategy to have to try to minimize the damage you take and maximize your output. With plenty of status that you can boost your team, you can curse your enemies, this kind of stuff, like hit them with a fog so they have less uh, it's
accuracy.
harder for them. Yeah, thank you. But the very great point of this game, so I don't know how it play on Switch and everything because I'm playing on the Xbox, but it doesn't have a save system. It only saves at intermission. So it's very stressful, and that's why I, even if I could play more, I would stop at one chapter a day, something like this, because you have three choice of road each time. You have the safe road, very few combat, but very few perks coming with it, not much experience, crappy objects along the way. Say the normal route, and of course the dangerous one, great experience points, but much more complicated enemy to deal with. And at the end of the route, of course, you have the big boss. So even though each of these dangerous route have their own boss battle in a way. You still have to save your skill point, which basically are mana points, your skill and HP. You still have to have enough to handle the last boss, which is, depending on chapters, could be very difficult. So there's a nice strategy part to it, and three times maybe along the road for each chapter, you have an intermission. With you get your kids back in the tank, and you have 20 action point, and you decide what you do with it. So you have to be very focused on what to do. Do you want to upgrade your tank? Do you want to take your fishing rod and fish behind the tank to try to collect some piece of metal to upgrade your tank? Do you want to make your children can get injured? You want to make them sleep to for them to recover? Plenty of stuff to do in the tank. You could spend like six times as many points as you actually have. So you have to be very focused on your goal here each time you have an intermission. And which is why my understanding is that it's not easy to finish the game without sacrificing a child. But my understanding is that once you're finished, you have a new game plus, and you restart with everything, like every perks, that you get at the end. So the second gameplay, you just literally take your tank and roll over the game. Straight line, literally. But that's good because, as I said, intermission, you have what, 12 kids, and each of these kids have their own story with each other, and there's no way you can finish them in one run. So you have, if you want to see all the stories of all the kids between each other, you have to play it at least twice. So yeah, great strategy at every part of the game. Um, the rhythm is really well made because, as I said, it's quite stressful, after you finish a dangerous road. So the intermission arrive right on time for you to take a breather. The music are great. No, really, really good. And of course, it's a very beautiful game.
Nice. Rating as well.
Hmm?
What do you
Sorry?
think? Out of 10.
Okay, for now, I'll give it a 9 because remember what I told you last week? It can be dark, right? You basically have a bunch of orphans in a tank rushing to follow the army of the bad guy because their parents or all the adults have been kidnapped. And the kids are extremely stressed because they don't know what happened to the adults. And they are really trying to rush to the end to save their family. That can be very dark. It can be, and you can see that the kids are quite stressed inside their tank. They don't really know what they are doing. They just know they have one focus, one mind, and go. Along the way, you that's kind of spoiler though, so I don't really want to tell you what happens, but they played safe. They played safe because there's kids playing it on the Switch. It could have been much more dramatic. They could have been a much more adult theme, but they played it safe, at least on this part that I saw. Could have been mm, much more like Horizon Zero Dawn and Wipeout. They didn't go that way. We'll see what happened after. But at this time, I just give it a 9 because I would have liked it, to be more adult theme, of course. But I'm not the only audience out there, and I did, like go all the way to the drama. You said you went to this path, go all the way. Come on, give me all the drama. But for now, it's more like we have a beeline to the Hollywood happy hand, and they're making a beeline to the Hollywood happy hand. That's not to my taste. But again, only the third of the game can change. I hope it will change. Maybe it was just a little piece of naivety and like a happy mood just to go darker after that. To dunk your head in the water. Haha, you thought it would be nice. Like, I don't know. But for now, I'll tell you more next week.
I mean, you're out of the three of us, you're the only one who has kids. Like, would you let your
Yes.
kids play this?
From what I saw, yes.
Okay.
Because they make you do the hard choice at the very beginning of the tutorial and take it right away, saying, sorry, no, we were kidding. Hey, that was just to show you that you can have this option. But if you either you play strategically so to never put your kids at risk, or if you're really that in that much trouble, usually you're in trouble uh, in one of the boss of the dangerous road or the last boss. And as I said, the game save automatically during intermissions, which are just before that. You don't want to sacrifice your kid, just wipe out your tank, redo it. That's it. So
Nice.
you have no real reason, unless it's extremely hard. Maybe there will be an extremely hard boss which forces me to do it. And anyway, I know that I can just go do the new game plus, and I'm gonna roll over it after that. So yeah, at this time, there's no real point to this mechanic, unless just adding you a piece of stress. Because when you get hit stronger than usual, you have a little alarm saying, "Oh no, you have no choice. Your tank is too badly damaged. Your only choice is to use the soul cannon." No, heal. Ah! I did it several times. Like, why are you saying no? I can just fix it up and go for another 10 rounds. So it's just to show to add a little bit of unnecessary stress, which in the end is not really stressful.
Good to know. All right, and for me, ladies and gentlemen, I have been playing a bunch of stuff. I'll start off with the minor stuff and then going to the major stuff. So as usual, No Man's Sky with Adam on the weekend. Um, if you watch the stream, you would know like we're pretty much doing our own thing. Like Adam's quite ahead of me in terms of the story, and I don't care that much about story for most things. So, but it's still fun. I'm enjoying the building aspect of No Man's Sky for myself. Um, I do feel though, like because M's is so far ahead, I've gotten a bunch of stuff I wouldn't have gotten, um, because I'm connecting to Adam's game now as opposed to I was hosting before. So Adam's in like a part of the galaxy that has all these like extra bonus components that I shouldn't have. So it makes things much easier for me, I guess, in a way. But yeah, no, still fantastic, awesome game. No Man's Sky, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. I wish there were better tutorials, better explanations for things, better, I want to say, hand holding as much as badly as that sounds. After No Man's Sky, I've been playing Sniper Elite 5 again with my friend Hans. We did like a mission a week. That was pretty cool. It looks nice. Um, it's pretty fun. I was doing the sort of sniping firing what is that the firing range yesterday, going for that the movie Hollywood style 1 kilometer shot, and I spent 20 minutes trying to do that and then failed because my math is bad. um, and so Sniper Elite, same thing. No, I would actually put it lower because I'm still waiting for them to do like a modern version of that, so I'd put Sniper Elite like a 7 out of 10. um, then I'm playing Valheim on Sundays with my older brother and younger brother. Very, very good. I see why people liked it, but I can definitely see it's like a very, very huge grindy game. In order to get anywhere, there's just like loads of stuff. Like the current goal for my brothers and I is we need to get like a more armor to deal with the boss number 2, because when you get into the next area, because you start off with a basic area, which is not really basic because you can still die, and you defeat the first boss, you start moving to the second area, and you start to encounter trolls, and they're like physically huge in the game. And like one hit from a troll, and you're just dead, and your body is there. And then my two other brothers are fighting, like, Karina, hurry up! We're just kiting this guy around so you can come get your stuff and run away. Um, Valheim's really good. Um, I would love it if it looked better. So I would put it like a 7.5. I think the PS2 like graphics kind of suck. Uh, no offense there. And of course, my main game that I've been playing a lot on 24 hours is Disney's Starlight Valley. I recently got Moana and Maui, who I did not watch any of those movies, so you probably know more than I do. Um, so that's cool. And now I've got like Jesus, I've got almost all the characters unlocked with the exception of Ariel and her whatever that dude's name is in the movie, the prince that she falls in love.
Eric.
Oh, okay, thank you, Adam. I already forgot. I watched the cartoon when I was a kid. So yeah, those are the only two characters left. But I told this to Adam. I want to say in person, but I haven't seen Adam in person like forever. I don't know how I told this to Adam. But um, yeah, there's a DLC coming out for Starlight Valley next month. It's going to be the Toy Story universe with Woody and Buzz and all those people. And again, it's free. So because this is a technically a free to play game, um, but it's just in early access at the moment. There's like a freaking ton of content available. So I've unlocked almost all the areas in the game as well. So that's pretty cool, and I'm enjoying it. It's very nice. There are some things that I found that are a little bit irritating. Like I got like Elsa from Frozen up to like level 7, but I need to get up to level 10 to get her next story quest, and that is a pain. That means every day I play, I need to go look in her character sheet and say, okay, today Elsa wants ABC. Then I'm like, okay, Google, how do I prepare bell pepper puffs? And then gather all the ingredients and give Elsa bell pepper puffs. She's like, oh, thank you so much. Oh, also, one of the cool things I want to mention about this is Gameloft got the rights to the voices of all these people. So, The Rock, who plays Maui in Moana, it is the real Rock's voice. The lady who plays Elsa, I forgot she has a really interesting name. Her voice is in there as well. Um, so all these people who play these characters' voices are in there. The new guy who plays Mickey Mouse, that Disney recently changed, a young guy, who's the new voice of Mickey Mouse for everything. He's in there as well. Um, so it's again, I don't know anything. I mean, the only person I recognize is The Rock from his voice, but um, yeah, Mickey's there, and the new Mickey is there. It still sounds like the old Mickey because that's how good Disney is. But yeah, no, this is my still enjoying the relaxing nature, the not so much pressure of this game. I'm and it's good. And there's like I have a premium currency in this game that I still have not used yet because I always forget to like, oh my god, I've racked up all these points. I should use spend it. But it's all for cosmetic stuff like Incredibles gear and stuff you can stick inside your house. And I just noticed it the other day. Is like there's like 736 furniture items and 700 and something odd clothing items that you can collect as you play this game, and you don't get them very easily. So I can see that as another way for people to play. But my rating so far would be like a 9 out of 10. I think when I initially started playing this, it was like a 7. One thing I will mention: this game now has crashed for me twice, which is a little bit irritating. So I always have to remember to say it auto saves in big moments. But there are like times where I started playing, I'm like harvesting all these crops, and it took like 4 minutes, and I have so many like not that many crop plots, and then my game crashed. I'm like, oh god, now I got to do this again. But yeah, that is it from me for games I've been playing. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah.
I saw a lot of DLC, free DLC on Sniper 4, which seems to be all multiplayer. Do you play with your brothers on it or?
No, dude, I think I've given up on multiplayer gaming altogether, except if it's like playing with Adam. But no, um, Sniper Elite DLC I wouldn't buy. Like even like
It's
I bought.
free.
Oh,
I
it's
said it's
free.
free. It's free
Yeah,
maps and stuff like this. Yeah.
so I wouldn't go back and play this now. I've just realized I'm starting to. I don't know if you guys have that feeling, right? All the stuff I've kickstarted, and then I feel like I've got really too much to play, and all the stuff I want to play. So I wouldn't go back to Sniper 4.
That's okay. I don't have that much in backlog anymore, so.
My backlog keeps increasing, even though I've slowed down the number of purchases. All these sales. I don't know how Adam does it. Well, Adam just has his one main system, but now I feel like I have two main systems, and it's just draining the coffers. All right, but yeah, we are. Before we get into today's topic, Anton, do you want to tell us about our fantastic new sponsor that I am already using on my Samsung S20 5G phone?
Absolutely. So, like all famous YouTuber, we are going with NordVPN. No, I'm kidding. Uh, our sponsor of the day is Newsly. So, if you don't know them, Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. So, what it does, it picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics that you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice, unlike mine. So the entire web becomes listenable for the first time all in one place. You can browse articles from topics that you choose and start playing. So basically, stop scrolling and start listening, people. You can follow any topics as specifics as you want, like sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashian. And it will find you the latest articles and just read them to you aloud. So, um, most important, they have podcasts too, and they have ours. So you can explore trending podcasts for over 80 countries, which is pretty nice. And this is what we actually started use it as our default podcast. So that's pretty fun. And cherry on top, they even have digital radio. So, what we recommend that you download and use Newsly for free now on www.newsly.me or from the link that we'll put on description on the YouTube video, or use the promo code Middle Gaming that we'll also put in the description and receive a 1 month free premium subscription. So basically, what we're trying to tell you is, if you still crying saying, I don't know what to listen to Middle Age Gaming, go to Newsly. Just download the app and listen to us. Thank you very much, people.
One thing I'd like to add as well, like I'm a big fan of things being read to me. You guys know I go back writing 5 hours a week to 7 hours a week, and I love the kind of stuff where it'll just read stuff to you, or if you're cleaning your house or you're fixing your bike or motorcycle, whatever you're doing, get the latest news, have it read to you so you can focus what you're doing while listening to something cool in the background. So
Yeah.
thank you. Go ahead, Anton.
No, I just wanted to mention that it's basically like Audible, but if you go biking like Korean, you don't bike for like 7 hours straight to read the whole chapter at once. So it's much nicer to have a 20-minute article read to you. It's much more digestible and much more interesting, and you can actually, look at the road, for cars in front of you and, be focused.
Always a good point to be focused when you're riding around. Be safe, right?
Exactly.
All right, and we want to thank Newsly very much for their support. And we're going to go into today's topic. Today's topic was chosen by Adam. So, Adam, before you give us your opinion, why don't you give our listeners and viewers an overview of why you chose today's topic and what is the emphasis or your thoughts about it?
All right. Well, recently it was we got some details on GTA 6, and turns out that it was actually a hack of Rockstar Games, and it revealed some gameplay of what they were working on, what they were developing. So, and people have been waiting for GTA 6 for a long time because GTA's been how long since GTA 5 came out? 10 years now. I mean, GTA 5 originally released on 2 generations ago, PS3 and the Xbox 360. Uh, and so it's been so long that people have been waiting, but Rockstar's been focusing on GTA Online. So, I thought that when, just getting anything, people would be excited about it. But no, it just completely went the complete opposite direction, where once people saw the state of the game, they were just, oh my God, this is awful. Look at these graphics, they're terrible. And so that just kind of got me thinking, about the two sides of it. On the one hand, you know, how well do people really understand how difficult it is to make these games? And people talking about like, oh, like there are people saying graphics are the first thing that you finish when you do a game. And maybe in some games that's true, like, and especially in maybe in an indie game where you're doing like sprites or something like that, you might want your assets to use. But in larger games, especially when you have big teams, you have different teams working on different things. So some teams are working on the physics, some teams are working on the graphics, and because of that, they're all working at the same time. So you don't necessarily have all the graphics done by the time you have some other things. So, what are the expectations of gamers, and what do they not really understand? But at the same time, on the other hand, with say the developers, how can they better communicate with, because obviously this isn't a great way to communicate because this is a leak. But how can they better communicate with people to kind of stem their expectations, and keep people in the loop? Because they said, "Oh, we're working on GTA 6," and people hadn't heard anything out from it. So of course, they're getting all these ideas of this is what's going to happen, and then when they finally do see something and it's not ready for release, you know they can freak out. I mean, it's kind of like in a way. The Elder Scrolls 6, where we saw that promo. What was it at E3 3 years ago, 4 years ago now? And it was just the title, and then we haven't seen anything since, right? And then it's the same thing with Starfield, where for a long time we weren't seeing anything coming out telling us more about Starfield. And you know, when that happens, obviously people in their minds are going to start imagining what to expect. So, how can we find that balance between, the developers letting the gamers know, this is being worked on, this is how progress is going, where at the same time, giving, having gamers kind of realize the difficulty that goes into these things, and just how long it takes to get some of these things done. So that was my idea.
Antoine, any thoughts?
Oh, so many. I could go for an hour on this one. I need to organize them. That's terrible. You guys will have to stop me on this, but where do I start? So I'm gonna put aside of the fact that haters gonna be haters. I would like very much to see what age the people crying about it are.
Probably
What's the
30s,
point
40s.
exactly? I mean, companies like Rockstar usually have something called a roadmap. You have lots of stages in the development of the game. So what did the hacker hack? Did he hack a pre-alpha version? Of course it's ugly. Of course. Do you think they're gonna start by making things pretty? No. They start by the stories, they start by the assets, they start by many things. Making things pretty is not what they need at first. So what was leaked, what we saw, is not relevant in the list because unless you have the exact stage of development of the game, you actually don't know what you saw. You just don't know what you saw. And what's a GTA 6? It's going to be a GTA 5 in another city. It's going to be much prettier. We'll just hope that it's not going to be, cyberpunk like and so pretty that it's going to, crush your PC when you start it. But that's a different issue. And you have to put some external factors that we had COVID for 2 years. So, Elder Scrolls 6 was released in E3 3 years ago. Maybe they didn't account for COVID, and putting the programmers at home for 2 years. Rockstar had a big issue, on GTA 5 and maybe the previous one too. On gaming industry as a whole is pretty toxic. I'm sure you heard about the crush. They are crushing their team to take the product out on time, and they kind of make this statement or promise that the crush culture is behind us. We're gonna uh, keep our developers, happy, the good team spirit with normal working hours. So of course it's gonna take more time, and a game take 7 8 years to develop, maybe 10. Just look at Star Citizen. Just typically it has been in alpha since, yeah, forever, and they have a roadmap. And you see the roadmap of Star Citizen, it changes quite a lot because they have ideas, but the times are changing, games are coming out, and they're like, um, the one you guys are playing, which one was it?
No Man's Sky?
Uh, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky came out. There were some good ideas about it. Maybe we should take this because the players are going to take this idea for granted. So we have to change the way that we saw the game and do this instead. Or, a game development is a long-term project. So what we saw is bullcrap, to stay very, very polite. So I'm gonna stay there and let you talk. Otherwise, I'm off in my own clouds for the next hour. So you guys go ahead. I give you back the mic.
Korean?
So my thoughts were, I guess, more along the line of, like, I remember, and Adam and I talked about this last year when we talked about, again, my sort of pacifistic, relaxing game Ooblets back in the day. I mean, this was a really famous story, sort of getting into the Epic days where Epic was sort of buying exclusives left, right, and center. And they went to Ooblets, and it was this lady, Rebecca Cottingley, with her partner. And they were like, hey, here's $1 million, only published in Epic. And she took it. I mean, they're just two people. and why wouldn't they? That's life-changing money. And of course, these guys are being supported on Patreon, and people are like, hey, this sucks. We've been supporting you on Patreon. Now you're on Epic. And then people on Steam are like, what? We have to get the Epic store? This is terrible. And this lady got harassed in a big way. Her partner as well got harassed in a big way. And I mean, I mean, you guys have mentioned the target audience as well. I just think there are people, and again, if you are one of these people, I don't apologize, because you should not have as much time as you do to sort of harass people developing games, right? What is the point of that? Are you getting anything? Is it making you happy by doing this? Because it's weird. Like, I don't have enough time to sort of say, oh my god, this person made a bad deal and this is screwing my game. What? What? If I had that much time, oh god, I would be a much happier person. My hair would be black again. This beard would be black. I would not look that old. There you go. Argument over. Stop harassing game devs. Um, but no, so that was a really unfortunate circumstance. I don't think it's not going to stop. I think it's that's why game devs or small indie studios, even big studios, need to have a social media person or a main person or somebody part-time, some university student, to handle their social media, not to listen to the criticism and the fans and the crazy people, because that really does get people down. That slows people down in a big way. And I remember, again, going back to the Ublitz story, because I followed this lady on Twitter. um, she was depressed. She was like, I'm depressed. What these people have said really gets to me. And as much as somebody can be mentally strong and say, okay, I get one "I hate you" message or "you should die" message a day. Okay, fine, I can deal with that. But if it's every day for a long time, it breaks down those mental concrete walls, and eventually, just like, you're out. I'm done, right? Um, so I think it's unnecessary. I mean, there are definitely solutions around it, um, and but I think it's not going to stop. It's only going to get worse, just because some people have a lot of time, and some people are very passionate about the games that they want to play. GTA 6, Adam gave an example. Cyberpunk 2077, right, is another good example. But I think there's a lot of clarity coming. One of the things I posted links for the guys, right, which was Masahiro Sakurai. He launched his own YouTube channel. Not only him, there are a few other devs who have their own YouTube channels, where you can say, okay, so this is what a game dev life is like. Right? This is what it's like every day, from storyboarding to programming to meetings to publishing deals. The story that dropped this morning, again, concerning Rockstar, is Rockstar dropped People Can Fly Games from their publishing deal. They made the game that Adam and Phil played.
Outriders.
Yes, yes, yes. So they've dropped Outriders from publishing Outriders' next game. Again, that's, again, game development hell in a sense. But anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. We'll go back to you guys for any other further thoughts.
Just a question. When you were talking about, the guy which is hired to manage players' expectation, isn't it exactly what a community manager is supposed to do?
Uh, in a
That is a
sense, or
community,
social
yeah.
media manager, social media manager. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
if you want to scream at someone, find Rockstar social media manager.
yeah. Exactly, exactly.
Yell at him, not at the developers. They are doing their best.
Yes.
If anybody's out there needing a community manager, email me.
Exactly.
Adam's
Yes.
here for
I
you.
cannot recommend Adam
I
more
will,
than
I will,
enough.
I will shill for you. But but yeah, no, I think it goes both ways. I think on the one hand, yeah, definitely people don't understand what goes into a game and that sort of thing. I really did like the outreach that a lot of other developers did, where they were posting early builds of their games and showing like just how bad the graphics were initially. God of War, definitely, Santa Monica Studios put a lot of God of War content out there where there was no color. It was just black and white, and maybe Kratos and the enemy were fully modeled, but they weren't colored yet. And then, but the backgrounds are just like, a tree is just like a column or something like that. One of my favorites was one that Guerrilla Games did, where they showed a really early build of Horizon Zero Dawn, and it was somebody fighting a Thunderjaw, but the Thunderjaw is basically just looks like this giant Lego monster, like it's all blocks. There's no detail to it whatsoever. It was just ridiculous looking. And it's super colorful, because it's like, oh, these are the guns are red, and the head is gray, and it just looks so bad. And then the other thing that they did is they were showing that when in early developments of the game, there's a guy shooting it with a gun, and it's like, there's no guns in that game, and they're like, "Well, yeah, because when we were working on the game early on, we didn't have the assets yet, so we just pulled assets out of Killzone, and we're using Killzone assets, to test this game out, right? To make sure the jumping works or the whatever, so we were using models from a different game to get and using them in this game while they're still building the assets for this game." So I really liked a lot of that where these companies were kind of coming out and saying like, "Hey, these are unrealistic expectations. Everybody does this. Don't act like you know what's going on." So I thought that that was really great. I do, on the other hand, though, agree that I feel like developers maybe should have a little more open communication, especially now because, back, if you go back to the 90s or whatever, I mean, Mario, how long does it take to make a Mario game? Maybe a year, right? It doesn't take that long, but now games can take 10 or more years to develop a game. And they tend to announce these games really early, or people find out that a game is it's hard to keep it under wraps that a game is in development. I think the last game where that was like really secretive was maybe what, Fallout 4 or something like that, or maybe Fallout 3. But, you know, we've known about Elder Scrolls 6 for a long time. We've known about uh, Starfield for a long time. We've known about Final Fantasy 16 for a long time. And so because we know that these games are coming out, people, if you're not feeding them information, people are going to create their own conclusions or create their own expectations. And I think that maybe the game development industry hasn't adapted to that where it used to be before you could announce a game and then the next year it can come out. Well, now you announce a game and there's going to be a long time, and if people aren't getting any information, yeah. So I think game development companies need to have a little more open discourse with their audience and let them know exactly not exactly where they are, but let them know what's being done, or in the sense that they're saying like, okay, you can expect a trailer at this time, or currently we are working on this or that sort of, we're working on this, or we're working on the graphics or something like that, or even just releasing things like you know, concept art from time to time, just to keep people kind of, just kind of drip feeding them a bit. Because right now, especially with Hype Train, that thing can get out of control real fast. So I think they need to learn how to better control that.
Yeah,
Just
I
my
agree
opinion.
with you completely on the hype. The only issue, and they have to be well balanced on their communication, is that they're counting on being completely in the dark and at the last moment build a maximum hype to sell the game well. That's basically what they do. But as you can see, it can backfire pretty quickly. So yeah, I think a good way to manage expectation, like Adam said, is to have a roadmap out there and to make it clear that that's their plan, but a plan can change. Where I work, we are in sales and we have to commit, our deals nearly by week to our manager because they need to manage expectation to their manager and everything. Imagine that in the video game industry, well, the player is everybody's manager. So you have to manage their expectation in a way which makes them happy. So exactly as you said, there has to be more communication, more smart communication. Try not to hype your game too early, of course, and that's not an easy thing to do. I'm not telling you what to do, of course. Uh, what I would love to see, um, sorry, can you remind me this Japanese guy's name? Developer? Masahiro something?
Yes, it is on the script. It is
Sakura from
Masahiro Sakurai.
So what he does and what the developer do, that's exactly this kind of stuff I would have loved to see on the Join the Constellation website of Starfield. The guy showing, not showing the asset of Starfield, but they already show a couple of videos. So there's some assets we already know and stuff. So if they can show a background of how we developed this and how much time it took to make the little companion robot or the ship, or how do you create an asset from scratch, and show us the technique behind it rather than telling us, the story of Bethesda. We know where you're coming from. We do know. Or how you make the music. That was great, but show us more about how you create the composition more than how you feel about it, and show us a bit more footage of the opera or the mixing table, or how you do this. That's kind of the technical stuff that I would love to see, because it shows people that no, it's not easy to create assets. It's not easy to create music or just a script for the story. It's like any movie. You have 70 versions of a script, and it needs to be corrected all the time. So I want to see this, and that would explain to the people, yes, we're gonna get you a great game. Give us time. It's not easy, and that's where we are, and that's what we are planning to do in the best world, without COVID, without Ukraine war, without any incident in the supply chain. Everybody has a PlayStation 5 in the best of worlds. That's not true, of course, but you know, we are not living in a unicorn world right now. There is some real issues. There are some real problematic. So just communicate better on them so that players can understand. Of course, 13 to 15 years old player gonna be haters whatever you show them, so ignore them. Think of us, middle-aged gamers. We are ready to be patient and understand you. Just tell us what to understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the things Antoine mentioned that I want to expand on is the idea of, you know, a lot of these like indie teams, and especially from Kickstarter. With Kickstarter, you should be familiar with the delays and roadmaps changing. And again, like one of the coolest, probably the most beautiful games. It's my wallpaper on my desktop right now. Is a game called Coral Island, made by a bunch of Indonesian people, and not just Indonesian people, but basically game devs, FX artists, sound designers based all around the world. And I mean, this is the nature of the modern world, remote work. I'm a remote worker, right? I sit in front of this computer, 5 to 6 days a week. That is what I do. But as part of my job, right, things don't get done as fast as they should because number one is I have coworkers in Zurich, which is 6 hours behind me. Then I have coworkers in New York, which is where I work mostly, 12 hours behind. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm there are a lot of timely things that just can't get done because in the afternoon in American time, I'm sleeping and dreaming about unicorns and rainbows and other happy things, right? So that that is the nature of remote work. So the same Indonesia and America, or Indonesia and Russia or Japan, it's time zones are different. People's working times are different. Like I work mornings and evenings, right? So in the afternoons, it's my time. I doing errands, riding to the bank, going back, riding, etc. So uh, this is something we need to account for, not just in gaming, but pretty much I think a lot of industries are going to move into that model um, going forward, or the industries that want to attract people, especially for people who are fans of remote work, are like, okay, I'm going to go to company B because I get to remote work, I get to stay at home, spend time with my kids, I get to do more stuff at home, etc., etc. So it's definitely, and especially with Kickstarter games, if you're a big indie game fan, that is the way Kickstarter teams are working, right? Why would you spend money in an office, right, to be the most economically efficient model you have? Is you hire people to work from their homes, you do everything over Zoom or Google Meets or Cisco WebEx, platform like for Antoine's employer, right? And then that's how you get your game together, right? And you've minimized expenses, you've maximized income, right? Through Kickstarter, through additional sales, through physical stuff, and it works. And I think that is the future of game development for I think 90% of indie studios, right? Until they make it big, that they want to pay for office space and health insurance and all that sort of stuff. All right, final thoughts, guys.
Mm,
Antoine's got
don't get your
thoughts.
expectations too high. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Just it is tough, and I think just more communication, and And not just more communication, but I mean, if you're going to communicate, don't do it in an aggressive way. You don't have to be like, "Oh, this game sucks." Just be like, "Oh, is like how early is this build? Like how much longer can we expect?" And then yeah, and then yeah, just temper your expectations. And yeah, it just blew my mind that when I saw the leak for GTA 6, I was excited. I was like, "Oh my god, we finally have something we've been waiting for so long." And why did it have to be negative? Why couldn't we have a positive spin? We actually see something. It is in development. They are working on it. That's what people wanted, and then that wasn't enough. So, you know, uh, take everything with a grain of salt.
Antoine?
I'm thinking the best people at forecasting, their progress are the indie developer on Patreons because they need to have people, pouring money into their project for them to keep working on it. So they have no choice but to say, we are there, expect this, and we did this. We couldn't do this because X, Y, Z, and we are planning to do this. Please give me money so I can do this. These guys are good, of course. For big studio is different, but I think these guys are the best at forecasting, their plan. So maybe try to take a piece of their book. And yeah, that's basically it for today.
Nice. I think that
And
that is a. Go ahead, Antoine.
then I was just thinking, like a Korean told us, guys, we need to lower the podcast time to 37 minutes. Oh
So
man.
we're gonna try it. So that's one of the things I wanted to add as we're ending off today's show. Today is going to be our last, somewhat long. For I think 37 minutes is still somewhat longish. Um, I know if you're watching the video, you're not seeing Adam and Anton's facial expressions, which is one of Korean. What the hell are you talking about? Um, so next month we're gonna give it a try, right? Again, if you have feedback about it, if you're like, guys, no, we like the long format shows, hit us up on Twitter, right? Twitter.com/gaming age, right? GMINGAGED. We'd love to hear from you. Stop. If one person says stop, we will stop. We'll keep going with the long format. I'm okay with that. Antoine's probably okay with that until daylight savings time. Um, and so yeah, that'd be fine. But from next week, we are going to be doing 37 minutes. And I just opened up the calendar for next week. So we're getting more organized here as we sort of. So next week is Antoine's show about hidden gaming series. Antoine's gonna sort of explain to you guys more about it next week, but I'm sure you can guess what it is about. So next week, I think what we'll probably do, we'll try to cut down on the amount of time we spent talking about games we were playing. Maybe focus more about the topic. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, be prepared for next week. We're gonna try to go for maximum 37 minutes or so. That is the ideal amount of podcast time according to Raphonic, who I know from my other podcast, their stats are pretty good, pretty accurate when it comes to podcasting. So that is a change to expect for October, at least a month. We'll give it a go, see what people think about it, and we'll take it from there. So Antoine's show next week. So what we're gonna do moving into the end of the year, we're gonna split the time. So Antoine next week, me the week after that. Then we'll rotate it between the three of us. I also want to remember if we are still looking for a female co-host, right? If anyone is interested, um, there's like literally no interview process. As long as you're a gamer, we'll accept you. Please apply, right? middleagegaming2020 at gmail.com. Would love to have you on. We'll ideally somebody from Asia or from East Coast of the United States, right? So we're not killing you too much. Like a specific time would work as well. Um, but yep, and that is it. So guys, please keep an eye out for Adam streaming Dusk Divers still. This week, Antoine and I are still not streaming. I will be. My plan is still to start streaming again in 2023 once I move and Adam takes over all duties in other places. Wink, wink. Yep, that is it, guys. And we will see you guys next week, Wednesday morning at the same time for a shorter show. And yep, take care, guys.
And of
Later.
course, don't forget to listen to us on Newsly.
Thank you, Anton.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.